I'm going to start. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Now, first of all, I have to put in a disclaimer and apologize. The advert mistakenly I wrote originally screen scraping and not web scraping. This is not about screen scraping. That's something different. This is about web scraping, but I would have assumed that most people would have understood it as being web scraping. And secondly, I'm absolutely no expert on web scraping. I've only recently started playing around with it, and this session is actually part of wanting to know what are the possibilities from other people's points of view, because I think it's a very useful tool, and we just need to actually then tap into this tool. All right, so just looking at what we're going to do today, we're going to look at what is web scraping, some applications, and then feedback, and also there's a list of references if you actually want to go and read a bit more. Now I'm going to try to first do a video, and Marie, just tell me if this is going to work. I've also done the slides itself, so if the YouTube video doesn't work, then hopefully this will work. Ooh. All right, can you see the video?
No.
Not yet.
All right, I'm just going to change the screen sharing options for a second. I'm just going to go out of this one. Sorry, every time it's a different tool. I'm not very fond of using Zoom, actually. It's not that one. Right, I'm just going to stop the screen sharing for a second. I'm going to stop my video. I'm just going to share screen one. Share. All right, can you see the YouTube video?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Sorry, just pausing for a second. You can all hear as well. Right.
I can hear you, Wynand, but I can't see anything on your screen. Sorry, my screen.
I can see clearly and hear.
Hello, I can't hear, or I can see, but I can hear nothing.
Apologies, sorry, somebody said something?
Yes, we can't hear anything.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
I've heard
apologies.
I've heard nothing. I've heard nothing since the beginning of the video.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wynand, on the share option, because we ended up having, I had this experience with that big Wiki, the Wikipedia presentation on Zoom. On the share option, there's a button that says something about sound. It's one of the buttons on the share screen. If you just have a quick if you have a squiz at that, that might help. There's a sound button.
Share computer sound.
Share computer sound. Yep, that's it.
My sincerest apologies. I didn't. I was listening, so I wasn't.
No. I had to. Yeah.
Hello. We're
discovered that.
So you want to know what?
All right.
Can you all hear now?
Scraping is and how it's used? Okay, let's break it all down. Some websites can contain a very large amount of invaluable data. Stock prices, product details, sports stats, you name it. If you wanted to access this information, you'd either have to use whatever format the website uses or copy and paste the information manually into a new document. This can be pretty tedious when you want to extract a lot of information from a website. Here's where web scraping can help. So what is web scraping? Web scraping simply refers to the extraction of data from a website. This information is collected and then exported into a format that is more useful to the user. For example, you can use web scraping to export a list of product names and prices from Amazon onto an Excel spreadsheet. Although web scraping can be done manually, in most cases, software tools that run on your computer are preferred when scraping, as they can be less expensive and work at a faster rate. But in most cases, web scraping is not a simple task. Nowadays, websites come in many shapes and forms, and as a result, web scrapers can vary in functionality and features. So how do web scrapers work and tackle complex sites? First, a web scraper will be given one or more URLs to load before scraping. The scraper then loads the entire HTML code for the page in question. More advanced scrapers will render the entire website, including CSS and JavaScript elements. Then, the scraper will either extract all the data on the page or specific data selected by the user before the project is run. Ideally, the user will go through the process of selecting the specific data they want from the page. For example, you might want to scrape an Amazon product page for prices and models, but are not necessarily interested in product reviews. Lastly, the web scraper will output the data that has been collected into a format that is more useful to the user. Most web scrapers will output data to a CSV or Excel spreadsheet, while more advanced scrapers will support other formats such as JSON, which can then be used for an API. Web scrapers can also come in many different forms, with very different features on a case-by-case basis. For example, web scrapers can come as a browser extension or a more powerful desktop application that is downloaded to your computer. Web scrapers can also scrape sites locally from your computer using your computer resources and your internet connection, or work on the cloud without using your computer resources or your internet connection. Feeling adventurous? Just like how anyone could build a website, you can also build your own web scraper if you want to. After some coding, of course. By this point, you can probably think of several different ways in which web scrapers can be used. A few uses include scraping stock prices to make better investing decisions, scraping data from Yellow Pages to generate leads, scraping data from a store locator to create a list of business locations, scraping product data from sites like Amazon or eBay for competitor analysis, or scraping sports stats for betting or fantasy leagues. The list of things you can do with web scraping is almost endless. After all, it's all about what you can do with the data you've collected and how valuable you can make it. So now that you know the basics of web scraping, you're probably wondering, what is the best web scraper for you?
Great. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
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 Great.
Yes,
Thank you.
fine.
Thank you. That was just a very short introduction, and I know it seems like a lot to take in a very short while. I'm going to go through this a bit more slowly, and also look at two specific applications and how we use it in the library. Well, currently how I have used it, but I would very much like to also hear other people's opinions about the possibilities of using this from librarians' perspective. So first of all, as it was said on the video as well, what is web scraping? It's a process of automating the extraction of data. If I were to ask all of you, whether you've ever done web scraping, most probably the answer would be possibly, or I'm not sure, or yes or no. But I think by default, all of you have done scraping. You were just not aware of it, because if you have, if you have before copied and pasted something from the web onto a document, you've actually extracted data from the web, meaning you've actually done web scraping, just a manual process. So the intention of web scraping is to extract data from any website. Web scraping is also called crawling, spidering, web harvesting, and web data extraction. And as I said, a number of ways. There's more ways than this. There's other ways as well, which I'm not going to go into. Manually, a user copies and posts sections from a website, and via a bot. And I think we've all heard of bots, but we never really thought about what it is. A bot is an internet bot, a web robot, or simply bot. It's a software application that runs automated tasks, scripts over the internet. So what is the process? How does it work? As indicated in the video as well, you provide the scraper with a URL. The scraper loads the HTML, and for more advanced scrapers will load CSS and JavaScript as well. And then the option is that either the scraper will extract all the data on that page, or the user indicates which elements of data to be extracted. And then the data is presented in a format that you can use going forward. And here we have just an image saying that, yes, there's unstructured or web pages. And there's a spider extracting in the middle, extracting the data because it's the World Wide Web. And you can then put it in output formats. I've not used SQL or XML thus far. I've only used Excel and comma delimited values styles. Why do we want web scraping? Well, firstly, to assist with data gathering and data visualization. It replaces the tedious task of copying and pasting. And quite often we find that the data itself is unstructured and we want it in a structured format. And thinking about our own work environment, I've seen how often do we just put in a URL and we send it off to people, for argument's sake, to academics or to the staff in the library, saying, have a look at this. And they don't, or they do respond or something. But there are better ways, more professional ways of sending out the information that is user-friendly. And I think that is part of the point I was trying to make. So some of the cases that one can think of already is collating product information, monitoring consumer sentiment, for instance, financial data updates, statistics, etc. There's a lot of use, and in the business environment, web scraping is used as a standard means of gathering data about products out there, but also about your competitors and what they're doing, especially in price wars. So it's quite an effective way to position your business. In a library, obviously not-for-profit entity, it might be slightly different, but it still has incredible uses for us. I just want to take a minute to point out there might be legal implications. And I've looked at various legal cases around the world. Now, by default, when you are scraping, you actually, it's a form of copying, right? So copyright laws do apply. And there's legal implications. It's not illegal to scrape, but the use of the information might be in convention of terms and conditions of that site mentioned, or in some cases, especially in America, where competitors were scraping each other's information, that came to legal battles. In Europe, it was slightly different. They said, well, look, the information isn't actually in the public domain. Therefore, the information is publicly available. It's not necessarily in the public domain. It's something different. And therefore, people can scrape. Also note that all sites cannot be scraped. Some sites actually stop you from scraping, and that's normally determined in the robot.txt file. But that normally stops all forms of harvesting as well. There's also the structure of sites that actually impact on your ability to scrape the information from a site. And you can imagine the more complex the site, the more difficult it is to scrape a site. And then also at times there's authentication processes like the captcha, which might serve as a deterrent, and you can't scrape using automated processes. However, there are ways of getting around most of it. All right, so the reason I said initially, I said in the disclaimer, I'm no expert, is because recently I had this problem that I wanted to find a way of solving. The problem is I wanted to match a list of journal titles from a specific vendor with what we received from the aggregator as part of the subscription. There's always mismatches between the knowledge bases, the journal list from the publisher, and the aggregators. I thought there must be a different way of doing this, a better way. But the issue is the data provider, the vendor, does not have a downloadable document that I could use. Whereas the aggregator and obviously the knowledge base does, the knowledge base being SFX or 360 Core or one of the knowledge bases that we use within our discovery layers. So I started experimenting with options, and I started working specifically with two applications, the two that I ask you to download. The first one is PassHub, and the other one is Chrome Webscraper. And I'm actually going to do the demos now as well, which is very dangerous to do demos live, but I'm taking a chance. All right, so this is, you all remember Jeffrey Beal and the Beal's list. This is a regional list. And I thought, well, how am I going to scrape this data in a way that I can use it? This is just an example. So this wasn't the original reason why I started with the scraping processes. But as you can see, it's a plain list. It's got the hyperlinked text. And when I copied and pasted it into Word, this is what happens. You would have the text and you would have the embedded hyperlink, which is problematic if you actually want to use it going forward. I actually want to see the title and I want to see the URL of those journals. This is the way that I actually wanted to see it. And this was the output after running it through Scraper. All right. So I'm going to go over to PassHub, and you can follow me if you want to using PassHub. And I'm going to go to bealslist.net. Oops, just want to go one back. So it's bealslist.net. PassHub. So I've downloaded PassHub. Now PassHub has got some limitations that if you, with a lot of applications nowadays, you've got to pay if you want to get advanced functions or use more than a certain number of records. I just need to clear my projects before of course I've already done that one. Just a matter of interest, you can see I was trying to scrape data from our repository as well to see how well it works. But the first thing is I'm going to start a new project. Just going to move this out of the way that I can see. So I've got to tell the scraper what the site is. List.net. And I'm going to start the project on that page. The scraper loads the page. Now, remember that all web pages have got coding at the back. You would notice now if I hover on certain things, certain elements will light up and give you, for instance, in this case, this is a paragraph mark. This is a heading 2 mark if you know HTML coding. All of these sort of highlights. So all I want now is I want specifically this list and I want to know the URLs. So I'm going to start by clicking on the select page and I'm going to select. Whoops, jumped. You would notice that the scraper is trying to interpret the HTML, so it took a couple of seconds. And in the back, it indicated it's right. I clicked on this one, and the yellow would immediately mean we found similar entries in the HTML. And I can now click on the second one. And then the pattern, and on the left, you can see it actually didn't recognize the pattern. It said there all elements in the back. If you go to the source code, you'll see that the URL, that is your, what do you call these little dots? What they call now? But it actually recognized the pattern, and that's why it highlighted the whole thing. Right, so I'm going to get the data. It's 1,600 records that it picked up belonging to the same range, and I'm going to run the project. It's going to take a couple of seconds. At this point in time, if anybody has any questions, please do so. All right. Can somebody just indicate whether they can still hear me well?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Now the output format, CSV or Excel. I'm going to save this file. The reason being is if I were to open it in Microsoft now, it's a CSV file. It would not look like I would like it to. So I'm going to save this file. I'm going to save this one, Spiel's list. Save it. And I'm going to open Excel. Go and render the data in a format that I can work with. All right, so the data itself on Excel, I have to take it from text, it's a CSV file, go to my completed, download box, fields list, I'm going to import it. It's a delimited, comma delimited file. My data does have headers. Also note that the default in this case went to Windows ANSI. I wouldn't use that. I always use Unicode. Next, at the bottom, you can still see that it's not rendered in tabular format. It's because I'm still short of indicating that the comma is the delimiter. Then I'm going to finish. There you have the complete fields list, title and URL. Right, so that was the first example, and that was a very basic example. I just want to go back to the PowerPoint so that you can go to the next example. I'm going to show you a bit more complex one. The next one, interesting enough, I couldn't get a full journal title list of Cielo, South Africa. And also I realized that with Cielo, you have an A to Z list. This is just a list of serials. So you've got an A to Z list, but the information that I want is not on this page. It is on the next page if I were to click on each of these. So on the next page, I wanted certain elements. For argument's sake, I wanted the date. I wanted the journal website. I wanted the publisher. And I wanted the ISBN. And that's, I know this is not a very good image, but that was the result of scraping it. I have got the journal title, I've got the publisher, and I've got the ISSNs. And I think further down, I've got the date as well. So I'm going to show you how to do this one using PassHub as well. So I'm going to go to PassHub. And I'm going home because I'm now going to start a new project. And if I remember correctly, SBS, correct, cielo.org.za. Just hope that the URL is correct. It's probably not. Find this page first. So hang on a second. Today. Start project on this page. So that's the correct URL. What's also nice, at this point in time, you see this is the front page. So I don't want anything from this page. I want the alphabetical list. But if I click on it now, something's going to happen on the left. It's going to start extracting data. So I'm going to click on the browse button. what it does, it momentarily stops the harvesting, and I can then do this. All right, now on the left, it says it doesn't know which template this belongs to. So I'm going to click on the main template because that is my initial template I want to start working from. And I'm going to end the browse function on top. All right. There's 82 journals listed, 80 serials listed, which is current. So it means 2, if you know Cielo, it means 2 has been discontinued on Cielo. It's just a matter of interest. So now I want each of these titles, but I want them to click on each of these afterwards and extract the data I want from each page. Right. So I'm going to select the title. Be careful if you hover at certain levels, you'll see, for instance, I don't want the 2 issues or 8 issues part of it. And you can also see it's a font and not a href HTML code. So I'm going to select. I think I did something wrong. It doesn't like what I've done. All right. And I'm going to select the second one. You see it highlighted. It checked the coding, and then it assumed that that's what I want. And you can go down the list. You see all of them are actually now highlighted. I don't want to get the data yet. I actually wanted to go into each of those. What I have done incorrectly, sorry, I've actually made a mistake. Sorry. It's a click. It should have been a click. Apologies. My sincerest apologies. I'm going to restart this project. I'm not going to save this. This is part of the learning curve using these tools. Often you'll find that you have to go back and restart things. That's also the danger of a live demo. All of them. It's now got the full list. Now here, I'm not going to use the selection page anymore. Now I'm going to go to the second function. I'm going to write in here. This is the title, journal title, if I can spell correctly. And now I wanted to click on each of those and go into each page. So I'm going to now use the click function. And it's going to open the top one, the first one, Acta Academica. Now in this case, it's not a next page button. A next page button, and on the left you can see you can then choose it must go to the next page. In this case, it's a direct link opening another no. And I'm going to create a new template because it associates different templates to different data sets. Now on this page, I want certain data elements. So I want to select, first of all, date. I also want the publisher. Here's the publisher field. I also want the ISBNs. Sorry, ISSNs. Please note, you have to be careful what you actually highlight because different things render different parts of the code. So I'm going to do the full span of the ISSN portion as it is grouped in the HTML. Now I'm ready to go and get the data. I'm going to run this project. It's got 80 pages to work through. We'll see how long it takes. It shouldn't take too long. While it's running, I'm not sure whether there's any questions at this point in time. It's very quiet, extremely quiet.
Sorry, Wynand, I'm just wondering about the archive.org, the Wayback Machine. I mean, it's probably similar sort of technology.
Yeah, it is, but the Wayback Machine would give you the actual website, the web pages, whereas what I'm trying to do here is extract the data to be able to use it.
Okay. I'll talk to you offline. I suddenly have this little idea.
That's good. That's very good. That's what I wanted this morning. I'm not an expert on
Okay,
screen
well,
scraping, but I wanted to spark the ideas.
It was about maybe we can get if we get hold of Mark Graham from. I mean, we'd have to work out time and stuff like that. It might be quite interesting just to have a general chat with him, and just how the Wayback Machine works.
Yeah.
I mean, the Internet Archives. Yeah, don't get me started.
I can imagine.
But sorry, it was just as I'm watching this now, I'm thinking, something, you know, sort of just wondering what tools they use, and just how that works. But it's not. I don't know. Slightly off topic, I guess. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, no, actually not, because they do complete screen dumping. They literally take the website and dump it, and mirror it basically. But the other reason why I wanted to explore these tools is to start extracting taxonomies for cataloging purposes, especially from subject-specific websites where you have associations, like you've got your botanists having a specific taxonomy that they use. I want to be able to scrape it and build it into our repository. So that was one of the other potential projects that, you know, like you just said, these things spark ideas, and that's exactly what I wanted today, to see what is the potential. I wonder if I shouldn't just cancel this run. I'm not sure how long it's going to take. It's only got 13. It's got one main template, which is the A to Z list, and 13 templates, and there's 82 to run through. So I'm going to cancel this, but I'll show you the end result of this. What it looked like when I completed the list. And as you can see, I've been playing a lot with these tools, and yet I'm still no expert. I'm going to show you Cielo Spain. That's a good one to show, because I worked through all the various CLOs to check things. There's 14 CLOs currently running, if you're wondering, CLO instances. From text, again from text, download file. All right, let me get any CLO. There's Spain, import. I hope this one was done correctly originally. And I'm going to go to Unicode. PDF A8. My data has headers. Next. Oops, back. What you would have, the reason, sorry, let me show you what happened now. If you see this and you can't delimit it, it's because I did not indicate it's delimiting that way. It was set as fixed width. So I've got to change it back to delimiting. And it's comma delimited, finish. So now I have the journal title. I've got the Cielo URL. That's not of interest to me at this point in time. The last update on that journal was on March 21, but this was important because each individual journal has its own website. That's what I wanted. Yeah, and also the publisher. I can't remember if I actually extracted more information. Yes, the ISSNs, and it's very easy to split the online and the print version ISSN using Excel. All right, so this is another example of what I've done. The next one I'm going to show you, let me just go back to my presentation first. If I can find it again. Why doesn't it want to pop up? Something is stopping it from popping up. sorry, apologies. Just hold on a second. Just want to get out of here. All right. So this was the result of the Cielo South Africa scrape that I did. The next one, I'm going to use a different tool now to show you how you can use it for argument's sake, in acquisitions, to send out a list that's a bit more professional to your academics to make decisions, or to whoever that your community is serving. So I just want to copy this link before I do anything else. So the other tool that I use is in Chrome. All right, so I opened a website. Now, if you've downloaded the Chrome extension, you would see there's a Webscraper, a little web spider web on top. I'm not sure if you can see it, but that's part of the developer tool. So I'm not going to click on this because that'll just open the information. To activate this specific Webscraper, I need to press function F12 to open the developer tools at the bottom. I'm not going to go to the elements. It opens up at default the elements. I want the screen scraper itself. So what is of interest on this page, I'm just going to close this for a second, is that, so these are new titles that's cheaper at this point in time. You've got your image, you've got your title, author, and price. If you were to click on each of these, you would go into the individual title, which supplies more information, like, again, title, author, but ISBN, and the price. Now, instead of sending a link like this to your community members, I want to send them a professional list. So let me scrape this. So go back to the scraper. I'm going to press function F12. I'm going to open the web scraper. Now, you would notice that each scraper works differently, and it's difficult to actually understand how each of them works, but there's this ample tutorials online that you can use. So in this case, I'm first going to create a new sitemap. I'm just going to copy this URL first, because I always have to indicate the URL that I'm busy scraping. And create a new sitemap. This sitemap I'm going to call Van Skyke's hot. What's this there? Oh, what did I do? Oh, I hadn't that mark in. I'm going to paste the URL. I'm just going to create sitemap. Now again, you would have noticed that it's multiple function, because I have to click on each of these to get the information that I want. Now, instead of the PassHub, it looked slightly differently. In this case, I've got to indicate what the kind of selectors that I want to do. So I want the scraper to click on each of these images, open each of them, and go and extract the data from those sites, those individual pages. The first selector I'm going to do, I click on Add Selector. You can call it what you want. I'm going to call it title. It's not a text, because in this case, I want it, like previously, I wanted to open up. So it's a link to the next one. Now I'm going to select it. I'm going to click on the image. Now, please note what's happening here. This is a very specific image. That ID belongs to that one image. I don't want just the one book. I want all of them. So I'm going to click on the next one. Now you'll see this has changed. And I'm done with the selection. If I were to scroll down, you'll see that all now have little red lines around them. So I'm done with the selection. I indicate that it's multiple. It shouldn't just happen once. It's a multiple. There's a number of books that I want to extract the data from. I'll explain the parent selector now, and I'm going to save the selector. All right. I can now test the data by clicking on Data Preview, and you'll see there's data elements. It gives you the title, and it gives you the URL that I indicated was part of the what it needs to click on. I also just want to show you, if I want to see what the graph looks like, what's in a more visual way, I can click on sitemap and I can click on select a graph. So from the root, which is your home page, we currently have just the one element, which is the title. I want more. So I'm going to go back to my selectors and I'm going to click on this to open up a new page, to tell it what to extract on that page. It's opening up a page. So here's the second page. I'm going to add a new selector. So in this case, I'm going to call it title. It's text. I'm going to select and I'm going to click on the H1, which is the heading. On each page, it will have a heading. So I'm finished with the heading itself. It's only once on that page. But now what's important is I've got to associate it with that specific parent. It's not on the root page. And remember, we told it to go from the root page to the title page. I'm going to save the selector by indicating it's part of it's a child of the title page. Save selector. I also want the author. Author, it is still text. I'm going to select it. Just at one element. Done selecting. It's not multiple. It's still part of the title parent. I'm going to save the selector. I also want the price for the ISBN. So we can add more selectors. ISBN. It's text. I'm going to select the ISBN. Yeah. Done selecting. It's not multiple. Still associated with title. Save selector. And I wanted the price. Text. Done. Not multiple. Associated with the right parent. Save selector. Now I'm going to show you the graph again, what it looks like. So at root level, that's your home page. I told it that it must gave the instruction that it must look at the title, which is each of those images. Click on each of those and then extract author, ISBN, and price. That looks right to me. And let's scrape and see what happens. So start the scraping process. You would now notice it's going to open each of these pages and run through the process. Right. I'm going to stop it so that you don't sit here the whole morning. No data scraped yet. If I refresh, I've stopped at a certain point, but immediately you can see the information. Now I'm going to download the information that it's done already. Export to CSV. Download now. It's downloaded. Now I'm going to go back to Excel. Data tab. Remember, it's external to Excel, so I'm going to get it from the text that I've copied. The text that it's created in the download. Into my download folder. Strikes. I import. It's set as delimited, which is fine. Remember, your data's got headers, and it's Unicode, which is absolutely fine. I go to the next page. I indicate that I want to split each of these into separate columns. So I've got to indicate it's column delimited. And I finish. There I have the, you can ignore the web scrape order. I've got the author, ISBN, price, and for some reason it didn't pick up the title. I might have done something wrong. I can go back and I can change the selector, make sure that the selector has been set correctly to get the title information. So this is a sort of a bad example because it didn't work correctly. Let me just see if I can I did one just before this that actually worked correctly. From text, go to my downloads. Oh no, I didn't save it. That's unfortunate. I didn't save the previous one. Irrespective. All right, let me go back to the presentation. All right, so that was just how to use the Chrome web scraper, which is an extension of Chrome. It doesn't work on Firefox, etc. And it's free. And I use this to scrape data from the Van Skyke's list, to be able to send it in a professional Excel sheet or even in a PDF to academics in this instance. Right. In conclusion, I just want to say there are definite reasons why librarians can use web scraping. And as you would have heard between myself and Ingrid, we don't even know what potential use is, but I can immediately think of so many ways that we can use this. And as per the disclaimer, I just wanted to say that I'm not an expert. We need advanced training. And part of this presentation this morning is to spark interest. And I'm still not sure whether you and Tamu, if you on part of the registrants. If you are, I actually want to put the challenge to you specifically, but to anybody else who's willing to take this on, because what is required with more advanced scraping is an underlying understanding of cascading style sheets, CSS. And I know you have it, so I'm putting it out there to anybody to please look at this and come back and set up a more advanced training session, as this is really just an introductory session. And at this point, I also want to ask, just from the participants, any thoughts, ideas that you might have already? Do you see the potential? Have you had experience in this before? Before we continue with the presentation, just some feedback from the participants.
It is Anne-Marie here. I see, I don't know if there's still a question, but Ulvain's hand is up. Ulvain, if you have a question, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question, Wynand.
Great.
Sorry, I shouldn't have had my hand up still. It was earlier when I couldn't hear the video. So I didn't realize I had to put my hand down again. So I'm lowering my hand.
Not a problem. Thanks.
All right. Anybody else wants to talk about it? I mean, just what are your thoughts on this? It's all dead quiet, which worries me.
There are questions and comments in the chat. Sorry, Wynand, chipping in there.
Oh, brilliant, Ingrid. Would you mind reading? I can't actually see the chat at this point.
Oh yes, that of course is the problem when you're doing the presentation. You can't see what's going on in the chat. So yes. Just the question. Okay, so Claudia from UJ is asking, what scraper did you use on your IR?
Oh, the repository. I tried both the ones, the PassHub and the Chrome, but I couldn't fully get the data in a way that I wanted, because it uses embedded, it calls up a number of pages. So I've actually asked experts to help me on this, and they haven't responded yet, because it is not pure HTML. It calls up different menus from different places on the repository. So I was not successful yet in getting the data in a way that I want from the repository.
Okay, so Ricardo is saying that he worked with this last year, scraped an academic website and ingested it into our repository. Ricardo, I think we're going to tap you on the shoulder there. And then Natasha is saying, great to continuously know how to work smarter. Thanks, Wynand. And then Carol is saying, very useful presentation, effective if you want to send professional reports to relevant people. Wynand, do you want to stop sharing your screen, because then you can see the chat?
Oh, yes. Well, actually, I can. On the second screen, I've got it open now on the second screen.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to mute. So it looks like Ricardo needs to be tapped on the shoulder.
Yes, Ricardo, thank you so much. Maybe you can show us. Maybe I can ask you to do the next session, please, and show us what you've done, because we need to share this information. Now Ricardo is quiet. I'm just reading through the group chats, and I'm really pleased about the incredibly positive response from everybody. Very interesting. Thank you. It sparked my interest. Thank you. Great way to work smarter. Thank you. Useful presentation. Oh, this is really great. Oh, Ricardo says, okay, we'll contact you. So Ricardo has committed himself to doing an online session on what he did to extract data and populate the repository, which I think is a fascinating use. I don't even think about that, Ricardo. Thank you so much. And this is exactly, I mean, for me, this means that we have achieved exactly what we set out this morning with the session, that it sparks interest and that people can use it in our library environment to work smarter and get the data that we are supposed to. All right, that seems to be from Lati. Thank you, Wynand. Thanks, Wynand. Missed the last 5 minutes. Wi-Fi issues. That was Linda. Jill said she'll contact me later. Great process to know. There's a letter. Ingrid, you've got a big bee in your bonnet about web archives. Yes, I know. But from my side, if there's no more questions, please feel free to contact me. And also share your experiences. I really hope this was useful. From what I can see, it's been a useful session, but let's start sharing these ideas and then getting to a point where we can work smarter. From our side, I just want to thank you for registering and participating. I didn't even think about the number of people. It's really, I'm really happy about that. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Anything else from anybody else before we close the session? Please share the recording. Anna-Marie, was it recorded? Anna-Marie, I can't, I'm not sure whether she's still online.
The recording button is lit up at the top. So yes, it looks like it has been recorded.
Brilliant. But also I will send the presentation to Anna-Marie to put on the LIASA website, where you can access it from there as well. Well, from my side, if there's no more questions, thank you, and thank you for your time and efforts this morning. And please, let us share as many ideas as possible. And I hope you all go well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wynand.